21 closings in one quarter, zero paid leads. No Zillow, no cold calls, and no ad spend. Our guest today spent years as a missionary, living off faith and other people's generosity. Then he got his real estate license. And he did something that absolutely should not work. He took that exact same playbook, no leads, no generosity, and he walked himself straight into a commission business. And it's producing. So here's the question we're going to be pulling on today. Can you actually build a real estate business on generosity without going broke? Stay with me because by the end of this episode, my co host Merrill, who happens to be this man's coach, is going to prove to you that what looks like luck is actually a system. And we're going to hand you 3 plays that you can steal before you get out of your car. Michael, before Merrill and I get into your business, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where do you serve? And how does a missionary end up selling houses in Madison, Wisconsin?
Great question. So yeah, my name is Michael Leeson. I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm originally from a small town in West Texas. My wife Emma is amazing. She's a home birth midwife, so lots of activity in our home. We've got 5 incredible kids from ages 22 down to 11. So we definitely stay busy. We spend a lot of time in the wilderness whenever we can, and yeah, just live a full active life. So that's a quick take on what we're up to today. But yeah, in terms of the background, so when I graduated from high school, I just rejected the status quo. I didn't want the American dream or any of the nonsense. I wanted to live a life of meaning, and that's really what I was obsessed with at that time. And through a whole process, ended up joining what's kind of like the Christian Peace Corps, more or less, but joined an organization called Youth with a Mission, or YWAM, for anyone that's familiar with that. And we so over the next 19 years, my wife and I served in over 30 nations, doing a lot of teaching and mentoring, primarily kind of pouring into young leaders, and doing a lot of community development work and just inviting people to know and follow Jesus with their lives, kind of all over the world. So, and then around 2019, it was time for some change. I had been involved in real estate in terms of management, ran a couple of Airbnbs and done various things. And my brother-in-law was actually the broker owner of a real estate firm, and which was part of the reason I didn't want to get into real estate. I didn't want to join the family business. My ego was there. So anyway, through a whole process, decided that was the way to go. But I got into real estate primarily to drive our investment that we wanted to be doing, and did not even intend to have much involvement in the sales side. And then it just kind of took off and took on a life of its own. And here we are today.
Excellent. You mentioned your years as a missionary, and I encourage anybody who's listening right now, if you want to hear all about Michael's story, he was recently on our friend Matt Farnham's podcast, the One Life podcast. I encourage you to go listen to Michael's episode. I think you'll get a lot out of it. But kind of touching on your life as a missionary before real estate, what did that teach you that your competitors maybe will never understand, in a sales course?
Oh man, how long do you have? So some of this is internal and some of it's external. And so internally, I mean, I'm just going to be as honest as possible. I think that like the big turning point for me was really grounded in my faith, like living and working from a place of acceptance and belonging, and not working from that rather than for it. Okay, so that was a big turning point in my life when I began to approach life from a place of being love, from acceptance, from belonging, rather than for those things. And so what that did, I think, was protected me as I jumped into the for-profit or business side. That it just kind of protected me from running at this in a way that's looking for approval. I mean, Matt, you mentioned Matt Farnham. He'll mention that like the business will hand you a scoreboard, it will hand you a playbook, and the status quo is just to run with that and follow it unless we have something different in our lives. So I think it just gave me a framework for what greatness and success looks like for me in my life, so that I don't get caught up in the scoreboard of the industry kind of all around me. So that was kind of on the inside. And on the outside, I think just like, serving and like this whole framework of approaching life and work to serve and not be served, to provide more than to give more than we take, to, approach it with generosity. In terms of finances, we learned lots of lessons about, just living by faith, living on a shoestring. Like there's so many situations where we shouldn't have been able to make our mortgage payment, and we did, or to buy that flight to that place, and it worked out, or just seeing provision come up like miraculously, to be honest. And so what that did was just grounded me in this perspective that, like, you know what, provision can come from anything, and I believe that, like, from a place of like trusting God, like provision or abundance is out there, and it's just kind of a matter of, oh, there's so much opportunity out there. It's just a matter of us kind of having the vision and the perspective to see it. So as it pertains to like, as it pertains to business, like, to, I think you can test me on this like next week, but I think I can say with honesty, if it all goes away, I'll be okay. Like we've rebuilt before, recreated. So like, I don't need this business. I don't need the next commission to build my ego, to make me feel okay, or even thank God for the provision of my family. Therefore, I can approach it with generosity and from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. And so I think that was probably the biggest lesson, in terms of finances, that has helped us kind of in business, is just to be able to say with honesty, like, you know what, we don't need it. We don't need it. So I can walk away. I can say no. You can say no. Our relationship is still going to be intact.
No
And
commission
we'll
breath.
carry on and go. What's that? The
No,
commission breath.
basically
Yeah,
no
yeah.
commission breath.
Yeah. So it's a daily practice, right? This is not just like a one-time thing, but like a daily practice of just like coming, even honestly, like laying in bed this morning, I was disciplined. It was earlier. My daughter was sick last night. It was earlier than I wanted to get up. And I was like, I just paused and was like, thank you, God, that I am accepted and loved. That's what I'm like starting the day from, rather than me like running after it, needing and trying to earn it. And I didn't feel that in the moment, but I stopped to reiterate that. And then I got up and made coffee after that.
Now, I want to back up a quick second, because the missionary background is so cool, but you're just one of the most interesting people that I have the privilege of coaching. You mentioned briefly that you've got 5 kids, which is no small feat, and it seems to me from the outside looking in, you seem like just amazing parents, and you have such a good relationship with your kids. You and I have talked a lot about these little dates that you do with them one-on-one. I mean, you put so much effort into that. But then also you don't mention that, I'd love for you to mention that you're like an extreme marathon runner, and aren't you training for like an Ironman right now?
Half
But then
Ironman.
I really want you to tell us just one thing really quickly about your vacations, your guys' backcountry stuff that you do. Because I
Oh,
mean, there's so many interesting things. I really want our audience to know these things about you.
yeah. So my wife and I believe firmly that good things happen when we get outside together, and we need to step away from the haste and the hurry and the screens and all this stuff. So our yearly family bonding time is a 2-week wilderness trip. So in early August, well, for a couple weeks in August, we're headed to Southern California to the Weminuche Wilderness just outside of Durango, and we're heading up into the mountains there. So that's our yearly, like, we're gonna come together. So we've got, there's the unity side of that, there's the challenge side, there's the awe and beauty. And I think that all of those things are like these core ingredients for maintaining cohesion and intimacy as a family. So those are things that we try to like design our times together, kind of incorporating, if that makes sense.
Kristi, what do you think our teenagers would say if we're going on a 2-week in the mountains, backpacking, no cell reception, no internet, no running water, like sledding in? Like, you guys, you've done this in the snow. I mean, this is hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to dig your hole to take care of your business in the wilderness, all that. They can handle
Cannot
it.
imagine our kids. It sounded so beautiful,
Do your
Michael.
kids like it, or do they complain the whole time?
It's mixed, and there's a little bit of a detox period. There's a couple of, even for me, there's a period of kind of detox, and then it's like the first time that you see, I have this memory of we're in the Tetons, like up on a pass, and the full moon is coming up over there, over the mountain, and our kids just slowly migrated over to just sit and take this in together. And I was like, wow, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, when I just think it's so important for us to be able to stand in awe, and I know, Merrill, like, you've been digging into astronomy, and like, I'm inspired
It's
by
kind of the
that,
same
but
thing.
like,
Yeah.
to regularly have the experience to feel small and stand in awe, as well as take on challenge and get extended time together, it's important.
I
So
love it. So for everybody who's listening, I know you're already like, I want to meet Michael, right? What you need to know is that he is running a handful of plays that anybody can copy. So as we actually get into these plays, Merrill's going to kind of pull apart each one. So that way, come Monday, you guys you can implement. So I want to talk about play number one. So your wife Emma, who you mentioned, runs a birth work practice. Merrill called it a midwifery, wifery. How do you
Wifery.
say it?
Yes, it's
Wifery. Okay.
wifery, not wifery.
that's
Wifery.
right. I
Okay.
learned that quickly.
So she's incredibly successful, booked out for months ahead, and her clients somehow become your clients. And I'd love for you to actually walk us through that. How does that loop work?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I mean, I wish I could say like, hey, we had this grand strategic plan. Like, we've just kind of like fumbled our way through it and chased after what seemed most interesting to us, and where we could serve other people and whatever. So that's how we came to this. January 1st, 2024, she launched her practice. January 20, that same day, I went independent as an agent, started building my own team. Prior to that, I'd worked with a friend's team for a few years. And so that day, I think it was January 3rd, we looked at each other. We were like, what did we just do? Like, is this? And I had that like internal fear, like, oh no, was this a fluke? Like, is this business going to continue to grow, or what's going to happen from here? And we, with Merrill's encouragement, we ran a launch event for our businesses, but we did it together. And I was like delaying months and months, and Merrill's like, you just got to do this. Just book it, just do it. And so we did it, and it was imperfect, but it was beautiful. I had, I don't know, 100 people gathered in this local cafe, and both of us stood up on chairs together, and we're like, hey, thank you guys for being here. We love all of you. It was like our friends, our sphere, everybody, and it just felt right. It was like, this is special. This is special that we had always worked together in the past, and we wanted to work together in the future. So what we started doing was, joint client events. And if she's hosting something, we had 50 people, 50 moms and babies at our house on Monday, a postpartum gathering. And I made sure to be there because I want to connect with these people. But also, we've learned, like, yeah, it's strategic for me to get in front of these people and build trust and get to know them. And Emma's clients, she gets so many gifts from her clients. It's crazy. Like, she gets paid and then she gets gifts. She gets gifts cards and all this stuff. And they just love and trust her. And so when they see me, they're like, you must be okay if she loves you. She trusts you. So it's, like, those are such beautiful, magical relationships because there's this built-in trust and love and care that's already there. Emma has walked through the most like intimate, challenging personal moments of life, and
Yeah.
so then I get to pick up the home search or selling process with them from there, and it's just like, it's magical. And then our kids babysit for them. It's just, I think, just like presenting who we are and our whole, like, we invite people into our lives and family and community. So we're not just trying to build transactions, but build community through all that.
There was a little bit of Michael being overly humble there at the beginning. You brought it back around though. It kind of made it seem like it was all by accident, but no. The truth is that it is nice that your wife has a business that's so complementary of your business. But you guys have been very intentional. All of your client events, I believe, unless you did one that I don't know about, all of your client events have been co-client appreciation
Correct.
events, right?
Yep.
You did the something at a coffee shop, I think once. You did something at a Chick-fil-A. Didn't you do an apple picking and a
Yeah, we did
family
apple
photo?
picking, family
Like,
photos, like
you have invested into the community, and when she does an event, you're there. When you do an event, she's there, and your guys' clients are just, latching on to both of them. That's just super cool.
yeah, correct. Yeah. And so much of that is with your help. So thanks, Merrill.
Love it.
You're the one
Well,
who did
here
all the work. I just had the idea. You guys should do an event together.
here's the part I don't want our listeners to miss, right? So if you're driving right now, most of you might not have a spouse with a booked out business, and that's fine. This isn't, go marry a doula, the podcast. The play is whose clients are already becoming clients 6 months before they'd ever call an agent, right? Like find the person in your town this week. For Michael, an agent with zero referral network when he started, he was looking ahead. You know what people who are having babies need? Houses and potentially moving and things like that. So I absolutely love that. And Merrill, why don't you take us into play number 2?
Yeah, absolutely. So your generosity P&L, do you want to just, you built a bit of a system for figuring out how you wanted to gift and figure out how much you wanted to spend on kind of loving back on your clients and your people. Can you tell everyone about that?
Yeah, so what I wanted to do is map out the whole process. I want somebody who's working with us to just say, wow, all the stuff, every step of the way. I want them to walk away saying, I've never felt so seen. I've never felt so heard. I've never felt so loved through the process. I did not anticipate any of that. And so what I wanted to do was take us at our best and capture that in a process, and then do the math to figure out, okay, what does it cost us to repeat this for each client? And yeah, so we mapped out each kind of landmark experience from the first contact to after the first appointment, um, writing the first offer, working our way through the inspection contingency, to closing, to month 3 to month 6 to 1 year anniversary of home ownership, on the buyer side, and figuring out how can we make each moment special, and again, what's it going to cost us, and how do we go above and beyond to create that. So that's the backstory, and then just trying to systematize that and make sure that we don't drop the ball when we get busy, and
Mm-hmm.
delegating the important stuff and always having somebody on call. We want concierge type service for every client. So how do we do that, and who needs to be involved? And that's been a great process so far.
And you even, I mean, one thing that I want everyone to know is that you even, I mean, you budgeted this thing out. You know exactly how much you're going to spend, on each client gifting, kind of annualized,
Yep,
right?
yep. So we mapped it out, and this doesn't include client
Events.
events,
This is more
but for
one-on-one
yeah,
touches.
for everything leading up through the 1 year anniversary, we were at about $370 per client,
So
and
is this
that's
like
that's that's
basically
that's the ideal.
is this like basically your own version of, say, something like a client giant where you put someone on a subscription and they get things?
Yep, exactly.
But with like more like love,
Yep.
more home cooked, can we say?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
a little bit
exactly.
more like, yeah.
So we've got a constant back and forth dialogue for these clients. So I've got a closing at 3 p.m. today. These guys love the outdoors. They love their dogs. They're super active. So I'm going back and forth with my assistant Hannah on, hey, and she has all this information. Okay, outdoors, dogs. Okay, what's the play here? What are we going to get? So we got them a gift card for going out boating on one of the lakes here in Madison, and we had previously on their home purchase done some stuff for their dogs, and it's all this stuff of paying attention, but just again, like having a process. So I love the client giant model and idea, and I think that's great to fall back on. But if we can add a little more intimacy to the process, a little more like, hey, we see you and we're listening to the
Mm-hmm.
process, and that involves some attention and work and somebody to be able to execute it, of course.
Awesome. So again, if you're listening in your car, here's your homework from this, and it's a big one. I want you to pick a client, right? Map their first year with you. Every touch, every gift, every card, then put a number behind it, because what Michael did is very important. Being generous, right, with no number behind it is just how you're going to go broke, right? He calls it his generosity P&L. So maybe even steal that name from him, because it's a good one and it's an incredible practice. Obviously, it's paying off for you. You've mentioned love a couple times on here, right? You have a rule that I actually love. Everyone in your database gets cards and newsletters, but only your top 100 get the premium treatment, right? So I'm curious, why is that list capped? Like, to add someone, do you take someone off? How does that top 100 list work?
Yeah, so I think with that, so that's a tough question, and I'm always like, I want my like our family motto. One of our family mottos is there's always more room. There's always more room at the table. My 11-year-old repeated that to me recently. She's like, well, there's always more room, right? And like 100%, like bring up a chair, like there's more room at the table. And so like this is a struggle of mine, is like how do we, if we're doing something, well, we want to invite them and we want to include them, but like you said, there has to be, I think there's this tension, right, between just like radical generosity and profitability. And at the end of the day, like the business has to be profitable, or my team's going to suffer, right? Or my family's going to suffer, and we're not going to be able to serve people. We're going to fall apart. So we've got to stay profitable. It's got to be intentional. So I think that like a lot of back and forth conversation with my assistant, for example, I'm like, hey, what are your thoughts? Should these people get this? And so she kind of helps me to like sift through and kind of pare things down a little bit. Um, so yeah, I think that it's, if I say 100 people, there's a good chance that it ends up being 112, you know. But I think that there's guidelines, and then there's rules. I'm more of a guideline person than a rule person, but as my broker can attest to. But the yeah, I think it's flexible, but there's got to be some parameters of like, where's there reciprocity in this, and that's I think an important kind of wisdom piece with generosity. I was thinking about this earlier. A lot of people are like hesitant to like practice in generosity. They're like, well, what if I'm taken advantage of, or what about this one person? And you know what? 95% of people are going to reciprocate generosity. And I'm not going to build my business around the 5%. Like, are you going to be taken advantage of? Yes. Are people going to be entitled? Yes. But I'm not going to build a practice around the exception, right? Like, that's going to happen. It's not a question of if, but when. And but we're building it around the 95% and pouring out generosity with wisdom and parameters. If I pick up on entitlement, if I pick up on just people like maliciously wasting my time, or even like naively, then I'm going to have a conversation with them. But otherwise, it's like, hey, you're out. Like this, this is, I'll have grace for you like personally, but like, no, you don't get to come to the event if you're gonna have that kind of mentality.
Well, first of all, so well said. Thank you. I really liked what you said about the 95 and the 5. Let's stop building our business practices around the exceptions. I think there's a lot of times and places where real estate agents do that. So that was brilliant. But you just finished a round of exhausting pop buys. We were talking about this on our coaching call yesterday. I mean, where we kind of relearned this lesson all over again, where, again, Michael's generosity sometimes is knows no bounds. And, so you guys were home, and you're amazing. Michael, genuinely, we didn't really talk about this a ton in today's podcast, but you've got a fantastic assistant, Hannah. We've done a lot of calls with her on them as well. And so I get to know a little bit about her, but she was home making cookies and home packaging their recent pop buy thing that they did that had like multiple components, and then delivering them, and they did them for everybody. And it took dozens of hours with him. He had kids delivering them. He had assistants delivering them. He had his buyer's agent, and it kind of became this exhausting thing. And so now we're doing these pop buys kind of halfway, kind of rushing through them to get it done, right? And wouldn't it be better we just just do 25 but make them high impact, right? And that's kind of the same concept of like trying to keep your most important list to 100, because you'd rather make a big impact with 100 than a mediocre impact with 1,000.
Totally. Yep. That was a key takeaway from this week that's live is like, hey, 200 people, 250 people, like let's scale this back and make it more high impact with fewer and have the conversations. And so, that mantra of deeper with fewer is something that I'm thinking about a lot in my life right now.
Okay, I like that. Merrill told me something recently about your business that I'd love for you to share with our listeners. Tell everybody about the map. I guess something along the lines of every closing gets a pin, like the buy side gets one color, the sell side gets another, and then you put it on your phone almost like it's an app.
Yeah, so the Google custom map is a great hack. So, and it serves multiple purposes. So it's got, the geography of our clients laid out, but then and so that's helpful for us. It's encouraging to me. I look at it and I'm like, holy cow, look at how much we've done. Secondly, it's great in conversations with clients to say like, hey, well, so yeah, we serve this area. Actually, let me zoom in here and show you exactly what that's looked like in this city. Um, and it's helpful for things like the pop buys and the logistics to see like, okay, in this region, so we want to pair off everybody through here, or I'm driving through a neighborhood and I'm thinking like, well, who do we have in here? Oh my gosh, I've completely forgot about those guys last October. And so I'll shoot them a text. Hey, I was just in your neighborhood. I was thinking of you. How are things? Did you get the plumbing thing sorted out? Or, stop by and, hey, I saw that you got the new gutters. It's looking great. So all those purposes, internally for our own reflection, externally for, the logistics of projects and whatnot, but also demonstration of, past success and effectiveness to potential clients.
Such a practical and easy takeaway. I mean, everyone can go take action on that. Go get all your past clients and put them on a map so that you can see them all visually.
Really
like that.
simple.
So many use cases for that. All right, Michael, let's pivot and ask a different kind of question. You are possibly guilty. I mean, we both believe in giving and reciprocity, but if anyone's guilty of over giving, it's you. I mean, you've paid for staging on $300,000 listings. You've eaten handyman expenses. I mean that you've cut your fees. You've contributed. I mean, you've done a lot of times. You've given a lot to hold deals together and different things like that. How do you draw the line without losing who you are? And how do you think about
Oh my gosh, such a good question. I think it's an ongoing tension. Yeah, I mean, showing up like wanting to help. Like Merrill, you're such a helper, and I know of you. Like you want to like whatever it takes. You want to help through the situation. So the handyman, sure. The cleaners, yeah, we got that. The stagers, sure, we got that. Oh, you need somebody to remove that couch? I'll be there in 10 minutes. The like one parameter for me is like if my family, if it's gonna cost my family, then like it's likely a no. If it's going to cost me time, date night, whatever it might be, then it's a no. If it's going to cost me my time away with my family, then it's a no. If it's a financial choice, then absolutely things come into play. So then it's an honest conversation with the seller. If I do say yes, then it's like, hey, we don't usually do this, but for you, we're going to make this exception. And so we've just pulled some strings. We got our guy in this afternoon to take care of this. So we want them to know like, hey, this is an exception. Don't refer us based on this, but also this is a special moment for you because we really care about you. We want to make this work. But yeah, as far as the numbers go, Meryl, we just had this conversation around like, oh, how do you, yeah, I think you called me out. You're like, okay, you want to be full service, right? And that's, taking the line from Chris Voss and, this full fee agent book. I want to be full service, full fee, right? We do it all for you, but we need to encompass it within our fee. So what I'm starting to do is I don't want to limit my generosity. I want to build a container for it. I want to build a structure for it. So I'm going in and saying like, hey, we can do this for, whatever our normal fee would be. And then we're going to bump that up half a percentage point. And we're going to do all this for you. We're going to take care of all this for you. We're going to be here for you. We're going to take care of all of it, or a quarter of a point, whatever it's going to take. And because we want them to again, we want them to feel like it's all taken care of. But we're right, I'm in the process of building this container for that generosity to make sure that it's all accounted for in the end.
I love it. And I think that everybody listening has felt that before, the fear of maybe charging what you're worth. Maybe it makes you less generous. I think that I love the way that you said that you're putting it in a container. If anything, this is something I work on with my clients a lot. I'm like, because I have so many clients like you that are really generous, and we actually have to put guardrails up for them. And I love that's what you've kind of done. And you said, okay, this costs my family, right? If it comes to money, putting it in a container so that you can be as generous as you want without having that negative impact. And then also knowing that you can charge what you're worth because you are full service and full fee. So, well, as we wrap up, we like to do what we call rapid fire. And so Merrill and I are going to ask you a series of questions, and you can just, rapid fire, tell us the first thing, that comes to your mind as we end the segment today. So you mentioned your morning. How do you actually start your morning? Like the first thing?
Oh my gosh. All right. So wake up somewhere between 4:30 and 5. I try to practice this. My first thought is like, I am loved. I am accepted. Thank you for everything in front of me today. Some iteration of that. I get up, I make coffee for myself, for my wife, have her cup ready, some hot water in her cup to get it warm. If I hear her coming up the stairs, then I, pour some coffee in there. And then I sit down and read and meditate on some scripture from there for anywhere from 10, 20 minutes, something like that. I think about my day, how grateful I am for the opportunities in front of me, even the ones, especially the ones that I don't know about yet. And then it's time to get to work and head to the gym.
Sounds like a good morning.
That's awesome routine, by the way. What is one app you would never delete?
Oh, one app I would never delete. Oh, that's a great question. As of this week, Whisperflow.
Whisperflow.
Kristi's so excited you just said that. You don't even know.
Honestly, it's just such a great dictation app. Go get it. It's so accurate. It's so much easier. Check it out.
Yeah.
It really is awesome.
Okay, so the best gift you've ever given a client, dollar amount aside.
The best gift I've ever given a client is nanny help. Having my kids, my teenage daughters, go help. They're in the throes of it with two young kids. They're moving, and I said, hey, you know what? Let me get some help for you. Have my two daughters go over there, babysit, organize, fold laundry, do dishes, whatever it, because there's the cleaner thing, and then there's other things. But she's just saying like, hey, we're gonna show up and solve problems for you, whatever you need. Take care of the kids, take them to the park, whatever it might be. That's golden.
What stands out as one of the biggest like client reactions of appreciation, or maybe you did a pop by or at a client event, or like anything really big that a client did back for you, other than of course they're always giving you repeat and referral business?
That a client ever did back to us? Oh my gosh.
Or just a reaction, right? Like, someone who was just super emotional, or like just a memorable moment.
Well, we had an elderly couple recently that like sold their home of 50 years, and they had just moved into assisted living. The sons were helping with the property. Dad had just had to move into memory care. So I'm face to face with mom, went to the assisted living facilities multiple times and just sat with her and just heard the stories. And I took her a photo book after the closing of all the listing photos. We put it in a book with the address on the cover, and took her the book, and she just melted into tears. She said, this is my home. This is my home. As she wept. And I was just like, I was broken. It was so humbling.
Wow. What a moment.
But her gratitude back to me was just overwhelming.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was kind of getting emotional just thinking about it. I was like, oh, you made that so visual for me to kind of see you sitting there and going through that experience. And well, so for someone who's been listening this whole time, they're thinking, I want this guy in my corner, right? I've got a client moving to Madison. Where do they find you? How can people connect with you? How can people work with you?
Oh my gosh, we would love to help any of your people in Madison or anywhere in Wisconsin. We can get them connected. They can find me on Instagram, the Michael Leeson. They can email me, michael@homecomingmadison.com, and we will connect. We'd love to help.
Awesome. Okay, so Let me wrap up for our listeners some of our biggest takeaways. So, number one, it was the top 100 rule, right? Everyone in your database gets a card. On top of your 100, though, they get that premium love that he mentioned. And so, get started on that list tonight. Number two, I love that map. That's a free tool. And he gave you so many ideas of how to use it, whether you're driving through the neighborhood to organize your pop buys as client proof or successive proof, and also just to make yourself feel good when you see all those pins on the map.
We need a little bit of lift, yeah.
Yeah, on especially hard closing day. The generosity P&L, that one is, I love that. Michael put a number on what it costs to love a client for a full year. And I just know that that's something that you can replicate in your business and not go broke and truly do that. So those are 3 moves. And I believe, I told you at the beginning, I believe that Michael proved generosity can build a business model. And Merrill, kind of proved that it is done through system. So I've given you I'd actually say Michael's given you the plays. So now it's your turn to take it and run.
So, Michael, what's the one big thing that you're most focused on with taking it and running moving forward?
The thing that I am most focused on right now, and this is maybe like, again, more internal to me, is I am just practicing this, and I was thinking a lot about this morning, is I don't want to look at just what kind of business do I want to build, but I want to look at who am I becoming. I want to become the kind of person that can steward and run and lead the kind of business that I want to have in the future. And so rather than thinking about how do I build that, I'm thinking, how do I become who I need to be? And I believe that the opportunity and everything around it is, I'll find the opportunity as I become who I need to be. So I'm very focused on that right now, thinking about who I'm becoming. I know that my habits and my routines are the best predictors of who I will be in the future in my community. So those are the things that I'm working hard on right now to align who I am with that future that I want.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michael. So for our listeners, please subscribe. Our YouTube channel has the video version of the podcast, but we are also found on wherever you like to get your podcasts. We love to bring incredible people like Michael to the podcast. Our goal is to give you something actionable that you can apply to your business. So we've given that to you guys. It's your turn to take it and run.